Hi, I am Carolina, and the following is a conversation that I recorded with a very dear friend of mine. If you want to become sober or if you want to get someone sober, this conversation is for you. And here is to the conversation. Okay, so a lot of people have asked me about my sobriety because I've been sober for 4 months and it's been a road for sure because I have a lot of experience with drinking, and I am from Hungary, and we culturally have sort of a heritage, if not a problem, with drinking. And the first, I think, sober revelation for me was doing Sober November. I had a friend who asked me, why don't you do this Sober November project with us? And I'm like, what's the point? Why would I not drink for a month? And I can't remember their exact reasoning, but they were saying, like, it's gonna be good for you. In all of your stories, you have a glass of something held up, and I was, excusing, excusing. I was excusing myself by saying, oh, if it's just me taking selfies, I'm kind of, just about me. But if there is something in my hand, then it's like a nice setup or whatever. But I did drink almost every day. And socially, I was going out with friends and having fun. And it was always part of the hanging out. And so the first Sober November for me was very educational. As a cognitive scientist, I went into it thinking I will write down every night how I'm feeling. And I did. I have a sober diary of every night, how I had urges for drinking and how I had kind of interesting experiences to which I would have drank some, but I was, of course, participating in Sober November, so I didn't drink. And that was eye-opening, but I was like, I will never want to do this again. Like, it wasn't as good for me. And I felt more of a missing out rather than being in the group. I luckily started working with the Blue Point Foundation, and they are the ones who organized Sober November in Hungary. And basically, it's dry January or Sober October, but in Hungary, we made it our own. And just before the holidays, it's like a nice cleanup time. And you just decide that you don't want to drink for a month. No matter what happens, you make a commitment. And it's not really a commitment to the foundation, it's a commitment to you. And I think that's the thing that people misunderstand about the challenge. Like, you're not doing it for anybody else. So when people ask me, it's not that so many people ask me, but some people have asked me, like, I want to help my friend. How can I help my friend drink less? And I'm like, you can maybe talk to them, but if they don't express any interest in changing, then it's not your job to make them change. But if you can urge their thirst for sobriety, if you can make it like a group project or a fun friend thing that you do together in whatever month, it doesn't, of course, it's harder in the summer because everybody is partying and it's kind of part of the culture and historic reasons and everything. But if you can pick a time where as a group you are not gonna drink, or maybe as a family you're not gonna drink, then it's gonna be more like the in-group. So you're not gonna feel like you're missing out on all of the drinking. You're gonna feel like you are included in a special project with some special people. And I think it helps a lot to share your experiences with people, because sometimes it's, now looking back, I feel, oh, it's not that hard. But of course, when I was in there, and sometimes still when I am at parties, it takes a little bit of effort from my side to say, oh no, I'm not drinking. And The first time somebody is offering you a glass of champagne, you are proud of yourself for saying no. And then the second and the third time that you are offered champagne, sometimes it takes even more effort to say no because you've already said it. And it's like you're getting from this well of saying no, and you only have so many no's to give. But I think the benefit of this 1 month sobriety, or even if it's, if someone wants to start small, they can say 1 week and see how that goes for them. But really, if it's 1 month and you can't stop yourself from drinking, then perhaps you should consider seeing a professional about that. And not an alcohol store owner, but maybe like a psychologist or a coach or a consultant or something. Counselor, they're called. So anyway, so maybe you start with a week, or maybe you commit and say, look, I think I'm interested in this. Let's do this for a month. And if you have someone that you're kind of worried about, you can say, let's do this together. Because I want to have a buddy. And because it's, okay, now let me get into my ideas about drinking. So I feel like, why do people drink? Of course, people drink because it's part of the culture, but part of the culture is not going to make me do anything. Like if everybody wears purple hair, I'm not going to be like, oh, I want purple hair too. I don't want purple hair. I think people drink because they want to change how they feel inside. And alcohol helps when you're sitting at a group gathering, you don't know very many people, and people are like, how do you make money? And you're like, oh, I'd rather have a glass of champagne and then talk to this nice lady. And so you are sitting there uncomfortable or anxious, and you don't even dissect this feeling. You just drink to ease out of it because it's uncomfortable. And so you don't really get to know yourself. But if you take a vow of not drinking for 1 month, then it's like, I am going to have some space to get to know myself more. Because if you're not drinking, then you're just going to have to sit with your feelings in the club or in anywhere. I feel like part of the reason why we drink so much in our young years is that we have these activities of like going to the club and having people skills in the sense of like deep conversations and subtle jokes. That's not really the skills that you would use at a club, right? So you kind of have to drink to ease into the atmosphere of like lights and loud music and unable to connect on a human level with another person. So anyway, say me and my family will do 1 month of sobriety starting on X date. And you invite your friends and you have some people to talk to about your experiences. Like, I had really a tough day at work. This is the time when I would have a beer and watch football. But now, since I am not drinking, am I enjoying watching football without the beer? Or would I rather go out in the garden and do some gardening? Or if I'm not as fortunate to have a garden, would I go in the park and sit down and watch the birds or play football with my friends who I haven't connected for a while, or read a book or talk to my family? So there is all these new possibilities that open up because you're not drinking, but you have to first overcome this step of not drinking. So you have to make a decision. And how I began is, I think, very important is that you're not making this decision for other people, because then you're gonna maybe have resentment toward those people. Like, oh, I'm not drinking because of you. And I would be in such a better situation if I were drinking because I am so upset. well, it's a decision to let you be upset for more than the exact moment of getting upset. And even then, with a lot of mindfulness, I think getting upset can be worked out mostly of a system. And it's not like I don't get upset. I mean, I get upset at people writing really nasty emails, but I am consciously working on with my mindfulness practice and my meditation practice to be more mindful. And now when I get upset, I realize sooner rather than later, oh, I just got really upset. My blood pressure is really high and I am worked up about an issue. And perhaps it's an issue I can do something about. And at other times, it's an issue I can't do anything about. And if it's the latter, what's the benefit of being upset? So, going on a tangent here, if you have your own little club of sobriety, then you can talk about all the experiences that you're having with no alcohol. And because you are doing this together, whenever you feel like you're left out or whenever you feel like you are not attending something because there's going to be alcohol and you don't feel strong enough to upkeep your challenge, then you can tell your friends from this group, let's hang out because I have this company dinner and I'm not going because there's going to be a lot of alcohol and we always get hammered and I don't want to participate in that. And even if it's smaller, I think I have to say I have started going to a sobriety group and it serves exactly this purpose. Like I didn't consider myself an alcoholic, but because of my connection to the Blue Point Foundation, I was offered, do you want to come to our sobriety group? And I was like, oh, sure. And I wasn't set on, going there, but I was like, it sounds nice and maybe a new experience. And the first time I went there, it's facilitated by 2 psychologists and it's about 8 people. And most of them are people who really have had problems in their lives with alcohol or maybe other drugs. And it was a facilitated conversation. Like they asked us, like, you have just met Fancy. What kind of force of nature would she be? And we went around and everybody had a moment where they were compared to one of the forces of nature. And it was people who I've never met before. And I had such great compliments. And then, the other little activity was like, what kind of animal would this person be? And I never tried to be like mean, but I looked at a guy and I was like, this guy is such a sloth to me. And I personally don't consider sloths very nice of an animal. Like they are not bunnies or foxes, or they don't have that kind of atmosphere around them. But I was like, I feel really strongly about this opinion, so I'm just going to share it and preface it with saying, I'm not saying this because I want to hurt you. I'm saying this because that's the kind of vibe I'm getting. And I even said, there is this tale. It's like a cartoon movie about a bunny that was wanting to be a policeman or something. And there were slots in the office buildings and they were very slow and they were telling jokes. And the bunny was like, okay, let's go. I get the joke. I want to get my stuff done. And slots are, in this sense, in this movie, very much in their own time. Like they are not being dragged around by other people's agendas or imaginary limits of time. They are just like, oh, I am trying to tell you this joke. Let me tell you this joke. And they are really slow. And that's the kind of vibe that I got from this guy. I was like, you really look like you're in your own world. And I think you're kind of funny from what I've gathered in the past 20 minutes about you. And he's like, and you know what? I have a plush sloth that I sleep with. that I think he said that he got it from his daughter when his daughter grew up, and ever since he's been sleeping with this sloth. I don't know. But anyway, so he has this plush sloth that he's sleeping with, and he's like, it's really funny that you said exactly this animal, and he likes these animals too. So it ended up really nicely. Long story short, or long story long, at this event, it's a 2-hour get-together for this sobriety group every other week. At the end of the first event, I was like, guys, I had so much fun, and thank you. And I think this is the kind of human connection that people want from other people. This is the thing that people chase when they drink, because they want to ease enough in the conversation, and they want to let go of their anxiety, and they want to be themselves, and they want to feel like they are in a safe environment, and they can be accepted, and they can be within their own skin happy about themselves. And that was kind of an eye-opener for me. And ever since, I've been looking at alcohol as this vehicle of connection. So my father drank a lot, and sometimes he was happy to talk when he was sober, but usually he was very functional. And if I didn't have a specific topic that I wanted to frame the conversation around, then he would be like, okay, what's the point here? What are we getting at? But then when we sat down and drank a bottle of wine or two together, then he would open up to me, and he would tell me family stories, and he would tell me his stories. And so that was a vehicle of connection or connecting to him for me. And I think a lot of my drinking came from this perspective of, this is gonna make it easier for me to connect to other people. And now that I'm getting older and more well-versed in sobriety, I kind of view everything as a kind of bid for connection. So when you work together with someone, you have a project, and you can frame your connection around the project. And when you complete an impossible deadline, or you do an impossible task and it works together, then it's like, wow, we are really close to each other, and we have achieved something together, and it's really awesome. And then when you go on hiking trips and you meet other hikers, that's like something that you do together. It's another vehicle of connection. And so I went to the Canary Islands, and I was fortunate enough to like be included in this group who are all kite surfers. And they are different from generic surfers. They have these kites on top of their surfboards. So it's my impression that they don't have to wait as long for the winds to create the waves. Either way, they were coming from different areas of Hungary, and they were coming from different countries, and they were brought together in the Canary Islands, and they had a lot of fun around this one activity that is their way of connecting to each other. And so sometimes you have to like make a highlight for yourself. Like, I'm gonna be that person who does kite surf, or does pottery, or organizes a book club, or doesn't drink. And in this sense, you can connect to other people in the not drinking part. But of course, that's not the only side of my personality. It's just that through this side of my activities, I can get to know my other sides, or I don't want to say my other personalities, but all the other things that I'm interested in. Because alcohol was kind of this blanket thing, like my hobby is drinking. That sounds really bad to say, but it was such woven through of my everyday that it was kind of numbing everything down. And as I said in the beginning, it was making it easier for uncomfortable situations. But now I don't have the urge to connect to everyone at a party. And if I can't connect with someone because I'm not drinking, or for any other reason, I'm not going to numb myself with drinking. I'm just going to say, we can't connect, so be it. And if I can't connect to anyone, then I'm just going to leave the party. Like, it's not my place to be. Why would I force myself to be with people? So we kind of went on a tangent here. What I wanted to tell you is if someone doesn't feel like they want to stop drinking at all, then it's not going to work for them. I feel like it's a... Sobriety is like a fruit. And if it's not ripe, you can't take it off the tree or off the plant. If you have like a thinking in yourself, oh, maybe I should try out this sobriety. Fancy Carolina is speaking about this, and it's been 4 months she hasn't had a drink. What is it that she's getting from this that I might get from this also? So if you have this like passing idea, like maybe I'm drinking too much, then catch it, and like a plant, you have to water it and be cognizant about your urges. And it can start with only noticing, like, am I drinking every day? Like, is this something that I do because I have had an awkward interaction at work, or because I had an awkward interaction with my wife, husband, whoever? Is another person making me put a substance in my body? Like, is that okay with you? And then once somebody has this fruit that's ripened, then they can say, okay, I'm gonna stay sober for a while, or I'm gonna quit, for 1 month, and then see where that takes you. I think I did 3 sober Novembers before this, and after December, while December happening, and I was crazy, and I was going to the bar when I should have come home, because I was at a family gathering and we were drinking and I had more than enough, but I was like, oh, I'm gonna go to the bar. That wasn't a very good idea, and while I didn't do anything that I am very ashamed of, I am also not proud of myself. And so even then I knew, because I was doing Vipassana for the first month in there, I was like, I'm definitely gonna not drink before that, as a way of like clearing myself out. So I thought, it's probably better for me to not drink, because I have so much fun when I'm not drinking. But it had to happen this way, because otherwise I wouldn't understand. Because when I was little, I never had or not just little, when I was a teenager, I never had an idol or a role model or anyone who was kind of like in front of me saying, alcohol is actually not so good for you. Because, with smoking, everybody's like, oh, smoking is bad for you. I'm like, oh, really? No one told me that before. But I don't smoke. But even smoking, it was to me like, one day I was in a meeting and someone was like, hey, do you want to come out for a cigarette? And I'm like, if you give me one. And he's like, oh, sure. And in between us getting up from the table and going outside to the balcony, I came to the realization of, there is no point in smoking. It's really hurting my body for no reason. It's not even altering my consciousness. Well, some people say nicotine does, but it's not really, you don't see dragons, or you don't feel consistently easier. You just feel like, oh, I just had the smoke. I put smoke in my lungs. So in between that time, I was like, I shouldn't be doing this to myself. Like, why am I? Really, it's not even in my head. It's not even making a difference. in any sort. It's just bad consequences. So I went to the balcony and I was like, you know what? I don't want to smoke a cigarette. And ever since then, I never wanted to smoke a cigarette. It made sense to me all at once. And I think it's the same with drinking. It's like you have to plant this plant and you have to have more experiences with people who are not drinking. And maybe that's why I'm doing this video, because I feel if I can just be one more data point to someone and help them with their journey, it was already worth it. Even though not like I am Mother Teresa, like 100% I'm doing it for me. And I feel better physically and I feel more healthy and I feel like I am showing myself every day that I can do this and I don't need alcohol to kind of ease me into anything or help me to connect to people. If I can't connect with someone without alcohol, then they are probably not for me to connect. And it took me this many years to realize that I don't have to connect with everyone because I'm just fine the way I am. When I am around people who are drinking, so my first sober November, I made a point of leaving every party when they started drinking, which was, I was still employed full time at the company. So they had company beer and immediately after work there was drinking. So I just came home. And that made me time to write in my little diary about sober November. And then when I did my second time doing sober November, I was not as strict with myself, but also I wasn't making a point of going to places, but when it happened, I wasn't immediately leaving, so that was nice. And then when I think last year I had like fun going out and I had a lot of energy to be with people when they were drinking and partying. And I would leave whenever I felt like it. And of course, it took my friends a little getting to used to. So it's not just a change from my side, it's a change for them as well. So in the first year of me doing Sober November, people were, I want to say upset, but it wasn't really being upset. It was just like a real struggle to understand because it was me and because it was them and we did a lot of drinking together before. So they were always offering up shots, and that's why probably I didn't go to very many parties. And then as the years go by, they get accustomed to the idea and they hear me talk about it and they perhaps see the idea in other fronts of their life. And so it was easier for them to say, oh, you're not drinking. I'm not going to offer you. Do you want something that's non-alcoholic? And now there are things that are non-alcoholic at get-togethers. But I had a lot of fun going out the last time around, so the third time of me doing Sober November. And I wasn't feeling like an outsider at all. I was having fun. But now, this time around, and it's not Sober November, it's just me deciding that I'm not drinking or doing any drugs or anything. So I'm like, I am straight edge, as they say. Although I do drink coffee. And for some people that counts also. But now is the time when I have come to a place in my life where I don't even want to go to the parties. Like I think the first time in my adult life, value my time and energy more than to put it towards things that I don't really see myself in. So I would rather make a video like this. I would rather have a conversation with someone. I would rather sit down in my living room and create art than to go out and party with people who are really partying. And for them it's great and for me it was great. And, you know, there was a time and space for it. But right now I feel like I am an individual more than I want to be part of the group. And when I am around people who are drinking, I just say it up front that I am sober. And so there is no question about it. And for me, there is no going back or anything. not that I want to go back, but I think it helps me because I put out the expectation that I don't drink, that people don't want to make me drink all that much. So all in all, it makes me feel good, honestly. And even yesterday I was at an art show, and at these galleries there's always like a glass of wine or champagne or whatever. And I was feel like the art was enough for me to be in a different state of mind. And it's a little Buddhist, but if you think about how mind-altering substances are around us, I try to get off the view that everything you do is to experience something. And so this can only happen in this setup, in this mess, you sitting there, me standing here. There is only this set of circumstances to achieve how I feel inside right now. And so I'm at the art gallery, and they are serving alcohol, but I am already in a different state of mind because of the art and because of the people and because of who I went with. And then we go outside of the art gallery and we go down the road and run into another art show, but it's a closing of a show. And it's a completely different vibe. It's a completely different crowd, very different art. And we go in, and again, it's a new set of feelings for me to take in, and new people and surroundings and new art. So I'm like, I really don't want to numb myself with alcohol. And it's fine if other people do it, but I just have fun watching them because it does change people, and it makes me more attuned to how they are changing because I am more stable in myself. So I think it's better to be around people who drink when I am not drinking right now than it was when I drank. So did I find a pattern in myself with regards to drinking? Okay, first of all, the first time I did Sober November, it was very turbulent times. I already knew we were gonna shut down the company, and other people didn't know. And so it was an intensely stressful set of circumstances for me to be with people who I know would have completely different lives in just a couple months, but I couldn't tell them. So every night I would come home, I would, journal about how it would have been nice to have a drink, but I am doing Sober November. So stress is one factor that usually made me want to drink, but it's not really the stress that comes from deadlines. It's more the subtle stress of I can't figure this person out, or I think I have this person figured out, and their aims are different than mine. And I want to ease into the difference in aims with drinking. So it's really interpersonal stress, I think, that made me want to drink. And I was lucky enough to be in different situations at bars or get-togethers when I was meeting new people. And some people are nice, and some people want to talk to you, and some people want to listen to you, and some people want to share about their lives. But some people are not very nice. And in those times when I felt someone deliberately wanted to walk over my feelings, or deliberately was trying to make fun of me or put me on the spot, that's when I caught the urge to oh man, I would love to have a drink right now. But of course, because you are doing Sober November, you're like, I'm not going to have a drink. And then you show yourself, wow, why would I drink because another person is being a bitch? Excuse my French. So why would I put a substance in my body to make that person seem nicer to me when I am not going to change that person? So really, it's like those subtle realizations about yourself that make you want to, or made me want to drink less or upkeep this. And I really appreciate that. And that's the like drug in sobriety, I think, that it opens new doors to your own consciousness, to your own understanding about how the world works. And that's like so enlightening that I'm like, oh, I want more of this. Like, let's roll. And then, of course, I started listening to maybe some famous people who are doing sobriety or have done some time frame of sobriety. And some people have very similar experiences about this. I tend to do big projects. Like when my father died, I had a lot of things that he left me and I wanted to get rid of them. Instead of just like ordering a container and throwing everything in there, I was like, it's my personal responsibility and it's my inheritance. So it was my decision 100%, but it took me years of getting through his stuff. And I did a big garage sale for which I did the marketing campaign and I invited the neighbors and whatever. And interestingly, it was after that I felt like, oh man, I would really have a drink right now. Like I would love to have a drink. And I don't know that I was not drinking then, but perhaps I was driving, so I didn't have a drink, and that's why I could, make this realization happen in my head. Because it was like the ease of completing a big project, and also it was also disappointing because when I went back to the house after I took down the in real life posters that I hung up around the district, I went back to the house, and even though I made much more money than I expected, I saw the house and it was the same. It seemed like nobody had bought anything, It was like a drop in the ocean, that garage sale, and it took me months, and I did videos and I cleaned up things and I took photos, and like I felt like all that work for nothing. But of course it wasn't nothing, and I had to put that in its place for myself. But really the letting go and the also letting go of my senses, like I can't do anything about this. Let's just get drunk. And so it's not only when some big drawbacks are coming your way and you can see like, I just got fired. I luckily have never gotten fired, but it's typical if someone has something really bad, like a spouse dies or gets fired or something, that they will turn to alcohol. And if they have done the month's challenge of staying sober, hopefully they have already created other coping mechanisms for themselves. But it's also when something big is finished. So I was really happy to see a lot of people come to one of my workshops that I did with a friend of mine, and we keep doing these workshops, and it's always really fun, and we invite people and they come and they learn, and we spend a lot of time together, and very intense time. And then after the workshop is done, my business partner goes home with her husband, and I come home by myself, and all the workshop attendees go home together or go out drinking or whatever. And I'm like really alone in a very profound sense of like being with people in a very intimate matter and then just being dropped in the abyss. And then I felt like, oh my God, I would love to have a drink right now. And I have a bottle of champagne in the fridge, but I didn't open it. But that was a very, very highlighted in my consciousness because I felt very lonely. But you can also reason yourself out of that because it's like you're not gonna be less lonely if you drink, right? You're just gonna drink, and so why wouldn't you create a space in your head where you don't get lonely if you're alone? And also, why don't you create a life where you can call someone or be with someone when you feel down or when you feel lonely? So coming back to my original topic of like, if you have a friend that you're worried about, you can't tell them, I think you should stay sober. But you can say, look, if you decide that you are going to stay sober, I am here and you can call me if you have an urge. And I can talk to you when you think you want to have a drink. So call me instead of, saying yes to the whatever alcohol that you might have at home. And also, it's with like dieting, don't buy a lot of chocolate to keep at home because it's just going to make it easier for you to eat chocolate when you're dieting. When you decide to stay sober, don't have your alcohol at home because it's going to make it easier for you to drink when you don't want to or when you decided that you didn't want to. Now I feel I am a heavyweight enough to have a glass of champagne, but I got the champagne for Christmas and I didn't finish it before my sobriety began in January, so I have it. And I also have it because I haven't decided if I want to upkeep this sobriety forever. But right now I feel so good that I kind of feel like I will never drink that champagne. But I also have this happiness of decision. Like, if I feel enclosed in a decision, I want to get out of it. But if I have the openness that I can do whatever I want, then I can keep the champagne here and I don't feel like even if I wanted to drink, I wouldn't have anything. So if I wanted to drink, I could open up that champagne and have it. But I continuously decide, oh, I don't need that. Thank you for your attention and having come to my TED Talk. And if you have some good stories about sobriety or having seen someone become sober, then share it in the comments because I would love to hear, and maybe who come and watch this video would also love to hear some other stories about other people who have become sober. I hope that was useful and I hope you got some motivation out of it. Please leave it in the comments if you have anything relevant to share. And I hope to see you next time. Thanks for your attention. Bye.